Okay, some new things are coming out, especially for horror. The subgenre of grief horror, horror that concentrates on grief.
Yeah. And as somebody who has watched a lot of grief horror and a lot of trauma horror,
Yes,
I occasionally say good grief about the whole thing.
Right.
But I think this might be a rare exception.
we talked. Came out on released on Shudder recently, so we're going to talk about it. Daddy's Head.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Of course, you already know I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us, thanks for watching, and for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals and great content. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. And we're talking about a new horror film because it's spooky season. Daddy's Head. What is going on?
Every day is spooky season.
In his world, yes, every day.
So, a grieving woman and her stepson are in grave danger when a creature is lurking outside their home resembling the boy's father.
Okay, I think what's most effective about this is the environment of this movie rather than anything else. I think it's about family, but they don't really act like a family. There's definitely this remote separation, this coldness, this disconnect between everybody around.
Yeah.
There's a certain, even the house doesn't look like a home. It looks like just a structured building. The woods don't even look like it's kind of woods. It looks like just out in the park. Right?
Yeah.
So there's, I think, atmosphere and thematically, this is effective. I think for this blue coldness throughout the whole movie, and it gives this very chilling throughout the whole thing. I think that's the most effective thing about the movie.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of technical prowess on display because
Yeah.
it's a gorgeous looking movie. I like what's weird is I couldn't find out who did the music, but the music was good in the movie. I didn't see a listing.
Technically, this is really outstanding.
I think it has a pretty solid pacing, not a perfect pacing, but a pretty solid one that moves along nicely, giving you information, little breadcrumbs. And I think that the performances are pretty strong as well. You know, really it comes down to, for me, this one stands out from the crowd of grief and trauma horror because I tell my wife this every time we start a movie. Oh God, it's another trauma horror movie. I'm inundated right now with my trauma personified as a monster.
You can even, why don't we just put the new Crow movie as trauma kind
of.
Yeah,
there's so much of that inundated with my trauma manifests as a horror thing, and I'm exhausted by it. But this is the case where I do think it works pretty well.
Right, because you have, and like movies like this, the child actor has to be phenomenal, and he's phenomenal.
Yep.
I totally buy into it. I love that environment. I'm not crazy. I really do see Dad. He's out there.
Yep.
And you're not grieving the right way. Don't tell me what to do. And also, you have Julia Brown, who's doesn't want to be a parent anymore. Doesn't know if she wants to take up another relationship, but he's divorced, so he can hang out with me. This kind of character. Yeah. Everybody's not really doing things the right way. You almost want to stop and like, look, you guys aren't doing it. You need to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Lauren Hardy, like with Lauren Hardy, you almost want to sit and talk to him. No, it's a misunderstanding.
Yeah. But this is, it's nicely set up where following the funeral, following the death, you get that scene of them watching home movies. And that gives you everything you need to know about the inner working relationships of the people in this family. And you get to the idea then that, of course, this is not the boy's mother. The boy's mother passed away. The boy's father just passed away. And now he's going to be buried with the mother. And so it's almost like the child feels like he's being forgotten. And the new wife feels like she's being forgotten. And neither of them really have a relationship. It's such an interesting dynamic where everyone in this film thinks that they know what they should be doing. And everybody in this film is struggling to make those connections.
Right. Not only that, the characters like Julia Brown play, she thinks she knows what the boy should be doing rather than her own self, and rather taking self-inventory, and then you'd probably want to drink your problems away.
Yeah.
But I do like it. It's hard to do grief horror effectively, but I think it does the right way. We don't see the monster very much. We have enough that we just keeps our keen, but that's not the point of the movie. I don't think the monster is the point of the movie.
No, but I think if you're going to advertise the monster, it does need to work, and I think in this case it does work for its limited time. It's not necessary that we have more, because I think kind of like Smile 2. Smile 2's best moments were when the monsters were kind of subdued underneath darkness, where you get kind of a glint of the light off of them. Yeah. That's how the creature in Daddy's Head works really well. And specifically the scene that's modeled on the poster, where it comes out with kind of that like fabric look over its face.
Right.
That sequence works very well.
Yeah.
There's a number of sequences. I think the one in the not the pipes, but the
the air vents.
the air vent, where the kid is looking down there and we see like a fully formed face. I think that's the most effective scene in the film for both the creature and for Rupert Turnbull's performance as Isaac.
Yeah, the effective thing about this movie, it's not a new thing. We folk horror has been around for thousands of years, and it uses that narration and the amount of story to like, we know what's going to transpire. We know what's out in the woods. It's not going to be good, but it plays on, like you always said, it's not the story you tell, but how you tell it. Yep. This is very slow burn. We're going to stick to the grief, no matter how painful it is, and the kid's screaming about dad's in the new home that he's built out in the woods that we know is not healthy.
Yeah.
But he so much wants to be part of it. I think when he screams, "Dad, I love you," and you know that you're not going to get that back, hurts the most out of anything you see viscerating. Yeah,
and I think that, again, goes back to Rupert Turnbull's performance as Isaac, is I do think it's not every scene where he proves that he's got it here, because there's a lot of scenes that just involve him kind of non-verbally, non-speaking, not responding. But I think it's those scenes where he has those guttural outbursts that make me understand exactly what he's going through and make me kind of empathize with how.
No, it looks like it's painful to do these things. I'm like, I think after cut, you're like, oh my god, I need to take a.
When it made me wonder: is the kid the evil one? Is the monster the evil one? Is Julia Brown character Laura, was she doing something that was causing this? Like,
right. When I took it away, there's no hero in this story.
Yeah,
there's none. There's not even an anti-hero.
I think the biggest hero is probably Robert, played by Nathaniel Martello White. He's the friend who's going through a divorce, and he provides an interesting juxtaposition to what she's dealing with, because his marriage is dissolving. His marriage is ending, just not in the way that her marriage has ended. And as you can see, he probably has kids at home that are dealing with their own kind of grief over the loss of the relationship. And he's spending time with this one. Right. Yeah, and he's instead giving his time to other people. It's maybe a white knight kind of performance, but at the same time you wonder, what is he giving up at home? What is he avoiding at home to be here?
And he's doing the white knight, but he's doing it so awkwardly, it's not paying off.
Yeah.
And I said, like, for a script, I like that's effective. You like characters who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but also believe that what they're doing is the right way, and you're doing it the wrong way. Which is kind of this falsehood.
Yeah, it's people making mistakes, but you understanding them all the way through. Yeah. You know, I don't think any of them are making bad choices on purpose, and that's, I think, the key part of it, is that when you write these characters, they can't seem like they're making a choice to move the plot along.
It's that evilness, but not intentionally being evil. Like, you're not my kid, but I don't know if I want to continue to raise you.
Yeah.
How painful. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I appreciate that she goes out of her way for so long in the film to try and pretend that she wants this and that she can make this work when she's around him. There's a very tender moment that takes place when he's afraid and he goes to sleep in her bed, and they actually end up like hugging and sleeping in that same bed. And it's a beautiful moment that almost immediately gets ruined the next scene, because they're back to kind of like bickering over little things and not getting along. And yet, like, subconsciously they do want to be together. You know, as they sleep, their hearts are making the choices for them. And I found that to be an incredibly moving piece of the story.
I liked how it edited. It's a slow burn. It's not the feel-good movie of the year. You gotta understand, this is the horror of grief, of trauma. So even when you expect some kind of payoff or the big monster, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not one of those movies that I think like, ooh, every Halloween I can't wait to watch Daddy's Head. It's not going to be one of those ones. But I think it's a nice showcase for Benjamin Barfoot as a director. I think this is his second feature after the film Double Date, and I think it's a nice showcase for his talents as a director behind the camera.
Like I said, he set up the production design for an effective. I think that's far more effective than anything we see. You know, the coldness, the remoteness of it. There's nothing seems like a home. Even when the monster builds a home, it doesn't feel like anything is going to be a soft comfort to anything.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe his biggest strength in the film, is he seems to have definitely partnered with the right people, the people that can help bring his vision to forward. And even something as simple as the film's ending, which there's a framing device involving one of the characters returning to this home, that I was like initially thinking, oh, I don't like this framing device. I don't like where it's going.
I have my reservations.
But then that final moment when he comes back to the regular house, I was like, oh, you did it. Yeah, you made it work. So the film made me doubt myself and doubt itself many times.
It did,
but it worked.
All right, so we're kind of really positive on this.
I'm pretty positive. Yeah,
it's not. I'm not going to run back and watch it right away, but really good technical horror film.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead and let us know down in the comments section what you thought about Daddy's Head. The film is currently streaming on Shudder. I assume it will be for a while because I think it's a Shudder original. But it's been at a number of festivals, so you may have heard about it in the time, in between then and now. But we definitely think it's worth checking out.
Yes,
so
definitely.
give us your thoughts on the film down below, and maybe what's your favorite hidden gem on Shudder? Maybe it's something we'll cover in a future episode of the show, because I think Shudder is at its best when it's hidden gems and things people aren't talking about.
A little bit, right. A little bit, yeah.
And you can find all of my film reviews. I think we're just wrapping up with the 31 Days of Horror, so you can find everything else that happened in this year, as well as the previous 10 years of horror reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
And you can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts.
There you go.
Thanks for watching.